Alright guys, welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 29th of April 2020. So I'm going to be going over the EURJPY study, which has been going on for a very long time. And at the beginning there was some relatively consistent updates regarding the EURJPY, and then obviously it tapered off. Because when you're dealing with the monthly chart, you're dealing with the weekly chart, obviously these things, they take a long time to form. And in between everything, if you go back on the Forex Factory thread and you look at the first video that I did in the YouTube playlist for the EURJPY, yeah, everything's kind of outlined in that first video. And there's some subsequent updates and so on, but I just wanted to just briefly go over, not necessarily any technical analysis or anything of that nature, but to just sort of discuss the study itself, what it means, and what we can learn from it. Obviously, we can always learn something from everything every day, especially when it comes to trading, because the markets are very dynamic. Things change, on a daily basis, sometimes on an hourly basis, but these big moves, the overall move, really, if you just kind of factor in, sort of opens up here, say around about 600 pips or so, and around about 700 if you take it all the way down to the 114.85 level, which has always been the target. There were some intermediate trades up here, and as a potential short, there was a few trades that I took, which are all outlined throughout the time. But I want you guys to have a think. I've never really claimed to be special in any way. I've always maintained the same how do you say, the same story, so to speak. Everything that I do is born out of experience, and it's the same for many traders out there. The more you trade, the more you experience, the more you experience, the more you learn, and the cycle continues. I've called many market moves, over the last sort of 3 years, when I've been kind of active, non-active, active, non-active, on social media, some other platforms and so on. And thankfully, there are people out there that do pay attention, and it's not because I want them, to say, oh, look at you, well done. It's never been about that, but I'm glad that people are paying attention, and that they do contact me and they do speak to me, about some of the calls that I make, and the learning process that I went through, and some of the things that I want to discuss and so on, and we go back and forth. Sorry guys, just give me 1 second. Somebody's, how bizarre. Oh, sorry. I've got people walking past my house. They just stopped and they're staring in. Very strange. Sorry, that was a bit random. But yeah, I'm glad, because in doing so, it means people are paying attention, people are reading the charts along with me, people are seeing what they're supposed to be seeing, and it proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that trading is possible. Obviously, you can learn to read the markets. This is just one way of doing it, but there's many other ways, and they all have merit. The trader, as I've said many times, and will always put it back on the trader, is responsible for making or breaking a system. So again, 600, 700 pips ish, it's a big move. Now, you also have to factor in what I'm about to say now. I'm going to give you both sides, because it's very easy to say, look, it's a 600 or 700 pip move. If you just got in up here and just left it and so on, that's great. We can all do that. That's fine. There's many educators out there that do this, but it doesn't really help anybody. It doesn't really help anybody. The reality is, if you did go short up here and you had a stop up here, for example, and you held, for the move, what's to say? I mean, if price was stuck up here, we would have found some other reason, right, to say, well, we haven't gone down to the 114.85. I still believe it's on the cards, but because it went through this level and it did a shift over here and now it's seeking up a level of liquidity. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason. But what I teach people over at Patreon is to split your time frames into two sections. Okay, so you've got your effectively monthly, weekly, daily, or your analysis time frames, and the 4 hour. I mean, I use the weekly, daily, 4 hour. They're my main staple analysis time frames, and then the hourly. Yeah, I never use the hourly for anything else other than this, to confirm the higher time frame pull or draw on price. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, and obviously for my entries, but I don't use it as an analysis time frame. I don't look at the hourly chart and say, right, it's doing this and it's doing that. I think the trend is shifting, and I don't. I have an idea in mind of, as long as I've got a good read on the weekly and the daily and the 4 hour. My only concern is for that hourly to confirm that we are indeed going in that direction. Then we look for things like reversals. We look for the negation line. We look for the curve. Order flow shifts, and so on. Manipulation, stop runs, objective fulfillment, all the stuff that I go through. And once we see all of this stuff, then it confirms that higher time frame bias, and then we can start to look for reasons, to justify something maybe on a 15-minute chart for, from a risk-reward point of view, to find a nice tight entry. But throughout this process, I mean, the EURJPY, the study itself, I mean, it was on I think it was mentioned on the first page or the second page of the thread. There's been over 160 plus posts on there so far. It was a long time ago, and obviously now it's like 2020. We started discussing the EURJPY last year. So I would encourage anybody to go through the study. Do your own, sort of analysis throughout the process. Have a look at what I was pointing at. Get a good feel for things. You might need to go back and forth between the forum and YouTube, to get a good idea. But generally, most of the updates are all on YouTube. And there's a lot to learn from it. So, like I said, we're going to continue to wait. I do believe it's going to go down to the 114.85. Now, it would be very, very surprising if it didn't. You still got maybe another 100 and... What are we talking? The range doesn't look like a lot, but say 85 pips. Still got around about 85 pips to go, plus sweep. So we may get 100 pips, through this 114.85 level. So we'll be keeping an eye on this, obviously. But I'm happy with the study. I think it's serves a purpose for the trading community. And now that things are kind of settled with my own personal schedule, with everything that's going on around the world, I'm going to look to start being a bit more active again, getting things up and running, and we'll see how things go. So with all of that said, guys, I hope everybody's safe and well. I hope everybody's healthy, and I hope this coronavirus problem, hasn't affected you too much. I know it's affecting everybody, but I hope it hasn't affected you too much. And I look forward to speaking to you in the next update. Take care.